Capitalism. We forget the power of free markets when brokered honestly to do so much good. One man embodies that vision, Mohamed Yunus. As the father of microfinance, the Nobel Prize winner provides small loans to low-income borrowers with promising business plans. The microcredit approach is helping millions around the globe lift themselves from destitution, while at the same time, his bank sports a 99.5% loan repayment rate that any Wall Street firm would only dream of. It seems that the poor are more likely to honor their debts than the rich. It's the kind of hopeful thinking that our new leaders may want to get behind and prove positive that greed, when matched with fear, when risk is matched with reward, it can in fact be a force for tremendous good. And we welcome Nobel Prize winner and Managing Director of the Grameen Bank, Mohamed Yunus. Welcome, sir. Nice to see you.
Thank you for inviting me here.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. So I'm going to start at the beginning. If we were to put you in charge of dealing with the American banking system, what would you do to alter the system that we use for finance in this country?
Well, first of all, I'll try to make it an inclusive system so that nobody is left out of the system. Today, not only the American banking as a whole, all over the world, leave out almost 2/3 of the world population. They don't see them eligible to do business with them.
And so what do you think you see in eligibility? Because I could argue that the intent going back a decade with some of the problems we're now suffering from were legislative efforts by Republicans and Democrats to try to make banking services more accessible, and now we're dealing with horrendous consequences. What did you do differently?
Well, we can always blame the legislators and others.
Fair.
Basically, it's a concept. What should the banking be? I mean, it should be for the privileged people who have a lot of money and we give them a lot of more money, or people who don't have the money, we'll give them the money so that they can
But solve me the problem that subprime attempted to solve, which is I want to create credit for people that are poor so that they can buy homes and pursue that American dream, or that global dream for that matter, and it's blown up in our face. What did you do differently?
In Grameen Bank, we lend money for housing. We have done over 700,000 housing loans in Grameen Bank. We have no problem. So it's don't blame the people for that. It's a system which didn't work.
So my question to you is, how do we change the system so that we can actually accomplish that? What meaningful change could we make?
First of all, focus on the people rather than the papers and the money and chasing something which
So what does that
exist.
mean in practice?
In practice, get to the ground, get to the real economy. Don't build castles in the air. But the whole basic problem is caused by the building castles.
So one of the castles in the air is the collateralized debt obligation, and then one of the castles on top of that castle is the credit default swap, which ensured the collateralized debt obligation.
Yeah, selling papers.
Right, sure. The magic of that was it created money out of thin air that then could be put into the economy and made Wall Street a small fortune. If we're not going to create
to
money,
the real world.
So where's the money come from?
The money comes from the depositors. That's where the money comes from. That's what the banking is all about. That's what the banking all started right from the beginning.
Okay, so how are you getting paid back at 99%? Because people will do anything if they can make a buck. You're clearly merging the idea of capitalism with the ability to give loans to people that other banks, American banks, would simply ignore. How are you getting that money back? How are you creating the return for yourselves?
First of all, we don't have any collateral. So we didn't run for how much collateral you give for a loan. It's basically trust-based lending. Entire banking is done on the trust. We don't have lawyers in our system. We give loans to 7.5 million borrowers. 97% of them are women. And these are the women who never handle money.
So hold on, Matt. You just hit the big Megillah, my man. I was going there. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
And I don't want to oversimplify it, but you're not the only one to do this. A lot of folks that get into the business of extending risky credit, to whether it's to start a business, buy a house, buy a car, will not extend that credit to a male. They will, or I wouldn't say will not, they're very hesitant. Yeah. And that the repayment and the behavior relative to credit of women.
Now we got into another
Now
subject.
We're talking Turkey.
Right.
Why is it that the men take the money and run, and the women pay it back?
Yeah, we began lending money half and half to 50% men and 50% women as a kind of objection and a protest against the existing banking system, where 99% of the borrowers are men.
Sure.
We said you are discriminatory. So we wanted to make sure we don't do that same mistake they have done.
So you started
we went half and half. Then we saw money going to the family through women brought so much more impact in the family. It's not the repayment, it's not the risk issue. It was the impact issue. Which
so you're saying the man was more likely to get drunk or go gambling or whatever?
I wouldn't like to
Hey, I don't
do
that.
that.
I was kidding. I'm not going to agree with you.
Impact on the children, impact on the children, impact in the household, and the long-term vision that you want to change your life as fast as you can, where men didn't feel that strongly about paying attention to the children, paying attention to the household and the long-term vision. They wanted to enjoy right now rather than wait for tomorrow. So that was the reason when we focused on women. That's how we became 97% women. Repayment was not the issue, and you say highly risky.
It was impact.
For us, it's not risky at all, because we have been doing it for 32 years.
But there's something that you are able to identify before you make a loan, or there's something in the way that you manage a loan after you have made it, that allows you to get this money back that the American banks don't have.
First of all, we want to find out whether you are a genuine poorest person. That's all. Once you have established that you are the poorest person, and we are saying, okay, we are good.
But let's say I'm not the poorest. We're dealing with a banking crisis. We give a bunch of money to people that were not the poorest people by any stretch.
So that's
How do you explain that?
That's the way Grameen Bank is a kind of reversal of the conventional bank. Conventional banks that you're talking about going to the richest, we go to the poorest. They go to men, we go to women. They lend money for all kinds of things that they don't know what this is about. We are lending money which is concrete right there. And the conventional banks ask you to go and do business with them at their premises. We say we do business at your doorstep. So we come and do
very quickly.
How long of a process is the interview process? I mean, maybe that's part of the problem.
No, that's not a problem at all. What we do, we said, as long as if you are poor, everybody says you are poor, and we have checked it out that you have a tiny little home, there's no furniture inside the house, there's a leaky roof. We said, okay, you are poor, join us. And then that's the beginning. You have to be part of a 5-member group, and you find your own friends, form a 5-member group, then you start taking
I got to get out of here, but if you were to offer a couple of words of advice to the people that are in charge of American banks at this point, who I would argue is Larry Summers, Tim Geithner, the policymakers, what would you suggest their guiding principle ought to be?
Guiding principle, open up to the people. There are millions of people in this country who cannot open a bank account. That's not a banking system, no matter how sophisticated you say you are. But when you leave out people, you can't even cash a check. You have to go to the check cashing companies. It is a funny thing. You have a bank, but you have another company where you go and surrender your check, and they take a full piece of that. And they pay their loans all over the place with 50%, 100%, 1,000% interest rate. That's not banking you're talking about. That's not a sophistication. That's a very primitive way of doing business with people. So we said, come back to the reality. That's what the banking should be.
Will you come back to this reality?
I'm already here. We already started a bank in Grameen America.
No, I'm saying, will you come back to this television show?
Sure, I'll love to do that.
Let me see your book. So let's see that
right
book.
Here. It's a new book just came out.
Let me see that thing. Hold that. Let me give it over. Here. Come right over here. Get a camera on this thing. Creating a World Without Poverty, Social Business and the Future of Capitalism. Mohamed Yunus. There's a full screen. It is available, I'm sure, right now in paperback, because I'm holding it in paperback. We're back with some trading tips for you in a market that's been a wild one. Mr. Mackey on trading McDonald's.